Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect when some people on Facebook said, "We're posting what we want. Doesn't matter that it's right or factually correct. We're doing what we want by posting this stuff." And they got pissed off at me when I posted what I wanted to, which was corrections to said postings. Part of this is also to follow up with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I am known as Shujin Tribble all over the place. You can find me under pretty much any social media under that name. I was born to a Roman Catholic family in Brooklyn, New York, raised on Long Island. I currently reside outside of Buffalo, New York, and I'm an unabashed atheist. Welcome tonight. On the panel tonight, we have a little bit of a change-up from what was expected, but we'll get around to that in a couple of moments. Starting off all the way towards the left coast, up into Canada, good evening, Dallin.
Good evening, folks. Online known as Dallin all over the place. Born in northern Canada to a Lutheran family. Religion was not a very big part of my life in terms of devotion. I was always encouraged to keep an open mind. Always ask questions, never stop learning. That has served me well over the years in my personal and professional life. And up until recently, I was a very live and let live kind of person with respect to religion, until I started seeing what fundamentalism was doing to my friends in the US and abroad, and realized it was time to take a side. And I chose the side of reason, rationality, and all things against Amish Wolverine. You're welcome, Tech.
He'll appreciate that. Moving towards the right, over into Ontario, just north of me. Good morning, Heretic Woman.
Good morning. So I am from Ontario, Canada. I started out with the United Church of Canada, which is pretty damn liberal, all things considered. But then I did a stupid move and joined a Calvinist sect. I really don't recommend that. Wasn't one of my best decisions. I became an atheist 26 years ago now. Decided fairly recently that I needed to become a pain-in-the-ass vocal atheist, and so that is what I do.
Moving to the south of me into Pittsburgh, good morning, good evening, Joseph. You are still muted.
Yeah, the little button wasn't showing up for me. I had to wag my mouth. Never mind.
Just move on.
Good evening, folks. I'll be going now. My name's Joe. I was born to an Irish Catholic family in Chicago, Illinois. Raised in Ohio, spent 8 years in the military, and now I have absolutely no idea what's going on anymore. I'm living in Pittsburgh. I'm an atheist, and I'm confused. So confused.
It's okay. We'll explain later. Moving across the pond over into England, good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Shujin. I'm Chris, raised in southern England, sort of as nominally Catholic, but it never really took hold, and I've been an atheist for 25 years now, and like others on the panel, until recently, fairly live and let live. And then through the sort of skeptical movement, I started seeing more and more of the harm and the nonsense going on in the world, and so becoming more and more active and vocal.
And moving south through the channel, across over into France, good morning, Joseph.
Good morning. My name is Joseph, born and bred in London, Ontario, Canada. After moving to New York, I moved here in 1989, and I've been here ever since. And I was brought up as an Anglican. And when the crazies started trying to get into power, I decided that I'd better start doing everything I can to promote a bit of reason, critical thinking. So I'm doing all I can to promote that.
Thank you very much, everybody. Of course, as those of you who have watched the show before know full well, Unrenowned Tech is not with us this evening. He is getting some much-needed rest, and of course our thoughts go to him, as Dallin has obviously shown. Thanks for jumping the gun on that one, man. We appreciate it.
Hey, he asked, I delivered.
It's true enough.
What do you want?
That's true enough. In any case, I'm going to go ahead and explain, once we get into the meat and potatoes of everything, why things changed around a little bit. First off, my apologies on that. But as we've come to start it off with the show, before we get to everything, at this time, as of the recording of this episode, it has now been 2 years, 10 months, 1 day since Raif Badawi was unjustly arrested for thought crimes against the state. We're still hoping for you to come back soon and come home to us. With that, with apologies to Noah and Heath, congratulations, by the way, guys.
Oh, yeah.
We'd like to think that we had a little something for helping you out on that, but it's neither here nor there. With 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle starts here. Now, I have kind of felt a little bit proud of myself that once before I had come up with at least one novel take on the Bible, which in this particular case, like I said, I'm a little bit proud of that, the whole Eve thing. Now, am I going to sit back on my laurels? Hell no. Because somehow or other, yet again, driving around with nothing else on my mind, I suddenly had a thing that came up. And if you were watching the social media, you would have seen that I put it out on social media in a Sharpie, and I put, "Denial of evolution is anti-afterlife." And Dallin was one of those people who commented on it and was just like, okay, let's see how you pull this together. And if there's one thing that I've told these guys before, never bet against the Tribble, because you never know. Let me take you back through a couple of mythologies for a couple of moments over here. In ancient Egypt, Anubis, who has been overdrawn, probably because he hasn't been keeping track of his checkbook, is the god of the afterlife. And he will go ahead and he will weigh the heart of people as they come to the afterlife against a feather. If you were a good person, maybe you weigh as much as a duck, or at least part of a feather of one, and you get to move on into the equivalent of heaven. And if not, you get eaten by a crocodile-headed hippopotamus-type animal, and you were destroyed. That's it for you. Game over. Nothing else to be done. For ancient Greece, you would enter the realm of Hades once you died, and you would be judged by King Minos, Aeacus, I may be mispronouncing that, my apologies, and Rhadamanthus, otherwise known as Schlegelhoff, and we'll talk about that later. And if you were good in life, you were sent to, one of the different planes. If you're good, Elysium, where, everything was great for you. The Asphodel Fields, if you were kind of, neutral on everything, or Tartarus, which some people might think is actually a reference to My Little Pony. It's not. If you were good, you went to one. If you were neutral, If you were bad, off to the pony realm, I guess. I don't know what it is. But there was a methodology. Hinduism, it's all based on karma. You were good, congratulations. You get reincarnated in some good way. You move up the food chain. If you're not, you get punished and move down the food chain. Buddhism is kind of the same thing, only without a god actually keeping over track of this whole thing. Judaism is kind of interesting. You are judged by God, capital G God, going from the earthly world, Olam Hazeh, and again, my pronunciation is atrocious, I know, leave me alone. And you go to the world of Olam Haba, which is, paradise or Eden. And if you followed the 7 laws of Noah, you'd be righteous and you'd go to Olam Haba. And if you didn't, well, you'd go to a place of spiritual purification and, depending as to how bad you are, annihilated. Christianity, forgive me, I'm going to skip over that because we pretty well know the thing. Think of it as, St. Peter's at the pearly gates waiting for you. And Islam, well, it's kind of the same, kind of. And I'm glossing over a lot, I know, because I'm running out of time. But for all of these instances, you have a stopgap. You've got a bottleneck whereby you come to a central point and they pull out the rule book and they say, okay, are you good or are you bad? Now, I'm pretty sure if you believe in one of these mythologies, especially Judaism or Islam or Christianity, It's a 100% true or false. You either have 100% are going into heaven who should be there and 0% who shouldn't be, and 100% who go to annihilation or hell and 0% who shouldn't be. There's no mixing back and forth. Guess what? That's evolution. That's exactly how it works. Either you are what needs to be in order to progress and continue to survive, or you're not. So I ask you, if the point is you need to continue to live, your lineage needs to continue to live, you need to pass through that keyhole, as it's been described before. So if you can't make that, if you can't get through that, you don't make it. Now, is your God inept? Is he going to let somebody through one way or the other that isn't supposed to be there? That's antithetical to everything that you believe, I'm pretty sure. That's pretty much how it works with evolution. Either you survive or you don't. So which is it? Do you actually believe that you can cut off people that aren't supposed to be good enough? Or is your God that inept that he doesn't even know how to balance his own damn book? I'm leaving off a lot of nuance, and I know it, because 5 minutes, and I've already gone over time, but think about it. Consider that. Because if the point of it is you're supposed to move on, if your God knows what he's doing, he's done it. And if not, what are you creationists arguing about? Go away. You bother me, kid. This is episode number 61. Yes, episode 61. I'm sorry. I'm kind of... We had a little bit of a thing happen, as those of you might notice. We did have plans of having Mr. Nick Morganmore, assuming that is your name, with us, and unfortunately, because of, time zones and such and math, he kind of lost track as to what times we were supposed to be on. So he is currently, as of our recording, in the city, or probably nursing off the beginnings of a hangover. I could be wrong. I mean, it's not unheard of for a comedian to imbibe heavily. I could be wrong. No, I don't think I'm wrong at all. So he's going to be still on the road before he gets to us. So he'll be with us next week, he said, unless, of course, something happens. But be that as it may, we've at least got next week's, or when he shows up, in the plans. So don't worry about it. What we're going to do this week is, admittedly, a little bit of a softball. We're not going to tackle anything really, really hardball this time around, although next time out it kind of will be. And we're going to talk about, what is it that makes a skeptic a skeptic? What makes someone who tries to think logically? What goes into it besides just being a Birkenstock wearing, black sunglass wearing, gluten-free dietitian type personality? And no, I'm trying not to steal from the guys over there at some Chicago-based podcast at all. It didn't even enter my mind, not a bit. But believe it or not, there's actually a lot that goes into it that are governed by a couple of very simple rules. So we're gonna kind of go through that, and with any luck, by the time we're done with all of this, you should be able to hold yourself pretty higher regard as far as to understanding how to argue, even if you don't know the actual mechanics of it all. Give you a good baseline of it all. Meantime, if you would like to participate in some way, if you're watching live, of course, first off, thank you very much. The question and answer system is, of course, open and live for you. All you got to do is just type it in, and we'll see what we can get to you. If you want to send a couple of social messages, hey, cool, no problem. Just after a little while, I will trim those out just to keep us to just questions and such. In the meantime, if you would like to send off a tweet, I will accept those, of course, live. You can send those tweets over to @HolyCrapTV, or alternatively, you can send it over to me directly as @ShujinTribble. no worries, and we'll get over to that. A lot of folks who were chiming in straight away. Chris, I see you over there. Renee, hi, hun. I hope that you're doing well. Beth, hello. Thank you very much. And Katie, wow, nice to have, okay, it's not exactly double digits yet for the viewers live, but that's okay. We can get started with that. So here's the thing. I intentionally used the term domino rally. I'm going to diverge just for a couple of seconds and then snap us back into place. Am I the only one that remembers Domino Rally, the toys? Do you guys have any recollection of that?
Just by name. That's about it.
Never heard of it.
Wow. Okay, so it's just me being the old fogey at this point. Okay. Domino Rally was a toy that was put out in the 80s into the 90s. The whole idea was, instead of just buying a set of dominoes and setting them up so that you can just push them all over, just get these plastic pieces that are shaped pretty much the same way in these great funky colors with setup stuff and a machine that you can wind up and put down, and it'll just put down the dominoes for you in the right, take all the guesswork out of it. So you can just, knock them over and set it up again.
That sounds like cheating to me.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I thought about it, even as a kid. But here's the deal. The reason why I'm putting it that way is that, to me, skepticism, arguing in a logical, skeptical fashion, follows the why principle, which is exactly what started this whole thing in the first place. Dominoes have to fall in a particular method. You have to hit one from one before. Otherwise, it stops. We've all played with them before, and don't tell me otherwise, because you're going to completely screw up my analogy here, and don't do that. But if it misses, it stops dead in its tracks, and that's it. There's nothing you can do about it except manually go over and tick. And we've seen stuff on YouTube and TV, all these world record setting ones where they're making designs and pictures and everything. And to me, skeptical arguing, logical ideas follow the same idea. One logical point must necessarily, that's what I'm looking for, land on the next one. It can't fall unless something specifically has to land on it first. Now, I know this kind of falls kind of into the whole first movement argument, and don't even get started on this one, but that's the way that I've thought about logical arguments and skeptical arguments, trying to understand why things work the way that they do. Does anybody have a different way of looking at it, or how do you feel about that particular type of analogy? I don't know who wants to take it first at this point. Otherwise, Joey, I'm going to start hitting on you first because you were way too quiet last week.
I have a motor analogy. If you've got, like an argument's a set of parts, and if there's one part that's not working, then the motor doesn't function, no matter how complicated it is.
Well, now you got me thinking about the trial where they used the mousetrap. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, yeah. Goldberg.
Could be. To bring people up to speed on that one, it was the trial of Dover versus Board of Education, I believe it was. And
Yes.
They were trying to argue that things need to be designed because they're complex.
Irreducible complexity.
Thank you. The eyeball was the item in
Or
particular.
my favorite is the bacterial flagellum.
Which is exactly right. Because, the bacterial flagellum is on the tail end, quite literally, of some bacteria. You will have a tail that, in order to create locomotion, spins.
Not always is it on the back end, though, and not always is it just one.
True enough. However, the example that they were using was a simple one item out the back end. I was going to say out the ass end, but we're not going to use that terminology this time out. But the point of it was so complex. It was so much like a motor that a human would design. It had to have been designed by somebody. So it was too complex for it to simply happen. So as a show of no, what I forget who it was, but one of the guys that went up onto the trial stand was wearing a tie, but his tie clip was a mousetrap. But it wasn't just any mousetrap. Go ahead.
Well, no, I remember that. I don't remember which guy it was, though.
Yeah, exactly. I've forgotten which guy it was, too. But the point of it was, they tried to say, look, a mousetrap is made out of 5 pieces, I believe it was, in order for it to operate as a mousetrap. You take away one of those pieces that's necessary for it to operate, it no longer operates as a mousetrap. So he went ahead and he showed, look, if you take away the restraining flip piece, it doesn't operate as a mousetrap anymore, but it works wonderfully as a tie clip. So just because you take away one piece doesn't mean that it doesn't function anymore. It's that it started as something else and it's changed its function over time. Which is
to the bacterial flagellum, if you take away a couple of parts, it turns from a propellant to an injector system.
Exactly right. Which was a great piece. Joey, you've got this look on your face.
Well, yes, I can accept that analogy. However, at the same time, you can take a perfectly logical argument, substitute certain parts of it with absolute dang it, it's not
BS.
Fair enough.
Bunk.
Crap.
It's no longer a proper logical argument, though it does make a fine bit of fiction and might be entertaining.
But if tweaked just right, it could also almost be convincing.
We're not going to get into that.
No, I'm just saying, but I think that's where
The logic of an argument can be pure, it can be perfect, but if that logic is based on if one of the parts is based on a presupposition or some other logical fallacy, then the entire thing just doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, I go back to Saiten's little statement during his argument, or during his
salad tossing.
Well, I was going to say verbal shellacking on the part of Matt Dillahunty, largely because I actually blanked on his name, and I was trying to buy time there. Yeah, this happens. This is what happens when you get old. Anyways, one of the things he said after the debate, where he said, see, remember how this goes. If the Quran is right, then the Bible is right. But if the Bible is right, then the Quran is wrong. Now, I am going to assume that there is in his mind that same logical progression that we're talking about here. But like Joseph said, some of those logic points are based on a presupposition. And that's where I'm coming from, saying that sometimes those can actually sound convincing if it's presented properly.
And you don't think about it.
Or it's so complex that the layperson can't think about it. Yeah. And I think this is one of the hardest things about being skeptical, about asking questions, is that you can, and again, apologies to one of our former panelists here, there are so many rabbit holes you can go down in search, like when you're trying to search for and filter out the crap from the facts, that you've, let's say, wasted half a day to find out one thing.
But that's the thing that these guys, when they make this type of argument, I'm sure I've talked about this before in another show, but their entire goal is just to confuse you, to make you hesitate, to make you look thoughtful or maybe even angry. That's the entire goal, because they know that if they throw shit at you, they're going to you're going to think about it.
Hmm.
But for their audience, all their audience is doing is just latching onto the keywords. That's all. Like
I mean,
visas and
to bring in another analogy, it's like papering over the cracks on a wall.
Yes.
It may look good from a distance on there, but it's not fixed the cracks or the problems with or address the problem in any way really. And on closer examination, you can see it's a bit of a botched job.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And now, see, that's the problem of it all. The hardest part of dealing with these arguments isn't necessarily making sure that everything falls one to the other. That's incredibly important. But finding out whether or not you've got a full domino that supports its own weight in the first place, that is, well, we talked about that whole special friend a couple of weeks ago, and looking at how somebody argues and sees how they try to grab a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this and try to mash it all together and put it together and boom, there's an argument. Oh, it fell apart. Well, okay, let me try this again. Gish galloping is arguably one of the most annoying and frustrating parts about trying to make sure that somebody's actually got one piece that logically fits in and of itself. And that is freaking annoying as all get out. Heretic woman, I know I'm stopping you. Well, no, I'm not stopping you from your wine, obviously. Explain to the wonderful people, what is a Gish gallop? And so help me, if you make any kind of references to a stallion, I'm going to hurt you later.
No, I wasn't quite thinking that way yet. A Gish gallop is pretty much when the person just throws out point after point after point after point, and they sort of seem to be part of the same thing, but really they're not. And they're trying to get you to have to address this and address this and address this, and kind of lose sight of where you were trying to go in the first place.
The goal of which is to bombard you with irrelevancies. And the whole purpose of logic, to paraphrase our good friend Mr. Stewart, is to burn away irrelevancies.
Yeah. And this is it's particularly hard to deal with, or is used by a lot of people in the setting of a timed debate or a timed interview, where they know the other person you've got X number of minutes to address them, and if they've got 5 minutes and you throw 50 points out at them, they're not going to be able to have time to address even half of them, and then you can just later go back and say, well, he didn't address this and this.
Yeah, they totally weren't able to defend this or that or the other thing, but the point is that a lot of what they were throwing out isn't pertinent to what you were trying to get it to the heart of in the first place. And when I was on that lovely hangout with Nephilim Free a few weeks ago, that was one of his things, was, we're talking about one specific thing. Well, what about this, and what about this, and what about this, and what about this? And they were all loosely connected to the main point, but they weren't really pertinent to the crux of the conversation. So then you're sort of like, well, I have to address that point and that point and that point, and either you miss one of the barely relevant points, or you get distracted from the main point. And either way, well, you weren't able to counter that. Ha ha ha. It's like, well, that's not the issue. The issue is this, and you're throwing in a bunch of crap that is marginally relevant to distract. And it's.
I guess the one thing I've always wondered when I hear of this kind of stuff happening, has anyone ever called these idiots out on this?
I did.
Oh yeah.
Oh hell yeah, I did. Saw that. You read the whole damn thing. You saw I did.
Yeah, no, I did see that.
You do.
Yeah. Now the piece about this that is really important that we need to make sure that everybody understands: a Gish gallop will only work so long as you allow someone to do it. The easiest way to completely stop somebody from gish galloping all over you is to say, I'm not talking about stuff that isn't exactly this point. We're going to stick with this one point until we get to the end of it. Then, if you really want to talk about the rest of the other stuff, we'll talk about the rest of the other stuff, because I don't see where it makes any kind of sense. See, that's the domino piece of it all. If you just the line, you can kind of avoid.
The worst of it is the ones who are good at it will, like the Nephilim guy, he will bring in things that seem like they're connected, and so you feel the need to address them, but when you really break it down, it is a distractionary tactic. So you have to be aware of that possibility, and when they throw something out at you, be cognizant of, is this really pertinent to what I want to say, or should I be forcing them to focus on where we are? Sorry, I didn't mean to grab on you there, Chris, but
No problem. Grab on me at any time.
Whoa! Let's throw some innuendo around here while we're at it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the beauty of working in a live medium with people who are way too tired or drunk.
hey, that was my first glass of wine, damn it.
And hey, it's 5 o'clock in the
Mostly
morning.
tired here. What I was
Okay,
gonna
that is
say
a big bottle of wine.
Yes,
I'm
it is.
impressed. I'm very
He's
impressed.
always holding it too close to the camera.
Yeah, did you get
No,
that?
I
at
am
the
not.
time?
No,
This is a huge cup of coffee.
Yes.
All right.
Very,
Now,
very large.
Pastor Manning, this logo's for you.
Yeah.
It's a latte.
Rope it in. Chris, all yours.
No problem. Thanks, Eugene. On the Gish Gallop thing, while we've been talking about it as a debate tactic here, it is incredibly easy to do unconsciously. I work in a call center environment and have done for many years. And when we get someone on the other end of the phone and they fire 5 or 6 questions at you all at once, it is very hard to sort of break it down and deal with this one thing at a time. And just it's something to think about when you're in conversation with people. What are you firing at the other person? Are you firing like 6 questions, all of them, and then expecting them to be able to answer them all in sort of one concise statement? It doesn't work like that. You've got to stick to sort of one point at a time, deal with that, move on, deal with the next thing, move on.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, some people have dealt with this in the realm of working telephones, especially, like you were saying. Tech support people over the years have had to do exactly that. You try to deal with people who call in who've got multiple different things that are happening to their computer at any one time, and you have to try to sort out, okay, what's the actual problem? What's the relevant issue of it all? And as the old joke goes, oh, well, it turns out that there's a power outage in the neighborhood. Of course, nothing is going to work, but you got to drill
I was
down.
going to say, you got to check if they plugged it in first.
Yeah, which is, as stupid as it sounds, the most obvious stuff is the easiest thing to miss, because Joseph, as you were saying before, what is the biggest thing that people overlook? The assumptions that they make right from the beginning. How easy is that to just take for granted something is the way that it's expected to be?
Sure.
Wow, that was very anticlimactic. Thank you. I appreciate that.
sorry.
Very insightful. I appreciate that.
I agree. What
was
can I
that
add?
What was that about it being early and people are tired?
Well, also on the assumption that he's going to give me something more than just a one-word answer.
Well,
Okay, well, if you want me to answer, what I do is usually just listen to the entire argument and decide on 1, the context, and 2, the motive. And I usually go for the motive. to answer it. For like the Gish Gallop, it's just basically it's done just to make you look bad, because what's going on for them, their reasoning is not logical. It's more a character judgment than anything. So their goal is to discredit you as a person. So if you make one mistake, that for them, in their minds, you're discredited as a person. So like, if you make one mistake, anything you say is not credible.
And then it's ad hominem for the rest of the damn argument.
Yeah, that's it. And yeah.
But the worst part about that is it's a cheap shot, because it's an attack on somebody's character in a very passive aggressive method. Well, if you couldn't handle this, why should we think that you should handle the rest of everything else?
Exactly.
That's a cheap shot.
And their goal is to make themselves look... Sorry?
I was going to say it's a cheap shot because that's all they really got.
Well, yeah. But their goal is to make themselves look more trustworthy than their opponent, because from a theist point of view, maybe this is kind of to the side, but religion is all about giving up your value judgments to somebody else.
Yeah.
And, if you're going to trust somebody with your value judgments instead of going through the work and looking at them yourself and making them yourself, you have to trust that person. So that's what their entire argument is about. It's about trust. So they think that if they earn emotional points, then they're more trustworthy.
And it's always easier for them to attack a single person rather than perhaps the ideas they're trying to fight about, because those ideas may be shared by hundreds, millions, but for the sake of the argument, so long as they can focus their attack on one particular person, it can derail the entire argument at the point that it was taking place.
Yeah, actually, if you look at the two debates, the two biggest publicized ones recently, look at Canahan versus Bill Nye. Canahan's open argument. What's the first thing he did? He went after Bill Nye as a person. Like there was little clips of him on there, Now, fast forward a little bit to Cy10 versus Matt Dillahunty. Same thing. It was character assassination throughout the entire opening argument, to the point where I just, honestly, I looked at Cy and went, what are you trying to say? What is your point? The fact is, your point, such as it was done in the first two minutes, and the rest of it was spent trying to drag down Matt's reputation. So, do you know that your argument is paper thin, and yet you're just sitting here flapping your jaws for what exactly?
He's not even thinking about... Sorry, Joseph.
Go ahead.
But he's not even thinking about it logically. I mean, all that counts for him is that he's just making an affirmation. That's all. He could not Cy10, Matt Slick. He's like notorious for saying, "Oh, you're the most irrational person I've ever known." It doesn't matter if it's true or not. He's just making the affirmation. And for his audience, they're going to applaud and think he won 1 points on that, and that's all that matters. But we're thinking about it from a logical point of view. For us, it's something completely different.
And I think that's what. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, just that's what makes being a skeptic so damn hard, is because the second you try to take the skeptical side of it, they basically regress to the mentality of a 4-year-old.
Speaking of mentality of a 4-year-old, you actually had a little slip there, and you had said, speaking as a septic, and of course, you skipped a constant there.
My coffee cup is empty.
However, that kind of brings me to what I was going to step on earlier, was that that's sadly kind of the point of a debate like that. It's not about logic. Logos, as we know it, is all about logic. It's valid reasoning. That's it. You can't necessarily argue and debate logic. The truth is the truth. What's there is there. When you start getting into these, and sadly, you know, we're looking mostly at, you know, these religious debates and stuff like that versus, you know, atheism, whatever. It's not really a logical debate. It's not about logic. It's pathos and ethos. Logos is completely out of the picture. We try to use logos in these situations, and it gets thrown back in our faces.
Okay, Chris, before I get over to you, just one second, really quickly. Just Joey, what is this term that you're using, logos?
Okay.
Real quick.
In classical rhetoric, we're speaking of Greek terms here, because, you know, origin, as far as we know historically, the origin of the forum, and, you know, rhetorical debate and so on and so forth. Logos is logic. It's reasoning.
Okay, good. Because I had not heard that one other than as a minimal programming language. That's why I wanted to make sure that we were thinking of the same things.
As opposed to ethos and pathos. Ethos is based on the character, credibility, or reliability of an individual.
Ethics.
Which, yes, and it's not to be confused with, you know, ad hominem, which is where you're attacking a particular individual, because that's a logical fallacy. Pathos is an emotional appeal, and it appeals to an audience, their needs, their values, their emotions, which 9 times out of 10 is usually what ends up. That's usually what these debates tend to boil down to, is logos versus pathos, and it doesn't work.
Pigeon chess.
It's oil and water.
We'll see about that. All right, Chris, thank you for being patient. First off, go ahead.
No, I think Joe actually already covered it. So.
Well, that just works out peachy then. I love it when that. Okay, so
sorry,
it's okay.
While we're there, kritikos. Kritikos is also Greek, which is where critical thinking comes in.
Which is where we are now, which is good. That works out good. Everything comes together. Okay, so we've dealt now with how do people try to get away from having a domino. Now I want to talk about why is the analogy of dominoes falling the one that I decided to latch onto, where something has to necessarily fall on something else in order to get from one place to the other. Because as we were discussing, it's possible to use something that is not quite logically consistent and cogent and still seem to get to the end of it all, sort of, but in a bad way, or maybe getting to the wrong conclusion because you took a spin somewhere else using wrong information. So I want to kind of talk about that, because that's something that will happen from time to time. Wasn't there supposed to be some kind of a thing about elephants are pink, or there's supposed to be some bad form argument about elephants being gray or pink or whatever the hell it is. I'm trying to remember what the hell that was. Anybody help me out on this one, maybe?
I'll look it up.
I'm thinking about the wrong thing.
No, but I mean, on the jumping over to the dominoes
Sure.
analogy, there is the term used in sort of logic of the non sequitur, literally meaning this does not follow. It's not a sequence. On there, so that, you know, the idea of this being a progression of one step to the next has been around for a long time. but as has already been covered, you can jump onto this train, onto this domino rally halfway along. But if you don't know where you're starting from, whether your premises are right, then you can end up just on like a massive trip to nowhere.
This is true, and I think
on there. Oh, sorry, I'll only be a second. And this has been called various things. Some people have referred to it as like tooth fairy science, where you can calculate how many tooth fairies you need to collect all the teeth and deposit all the money, and what impact will all that money have on the economy and etc. But you're working on the hidden assumption there that tooth fairies exist, and if you don't question the basic assumption, your starting point first, then you can build this huge sort of house of cards on there, and each sort of step along the way, if you look at it individually, can seem to make sense. You might be using the right statistics for the economic analysis of all these nickels being left under pillows or whatever, but it's because your starting points are invalid. It doesn't matter that the little set links later on in the chain work, because they're built on nothing.
that's a fair enough way of starting with it. Yeah, I mean that kind of comes back along to the piece we were talking about before, where one of the easiest things to miss is the thing that you would just otherwise normally take for granted, because it's just always been. And I think that's one of the things whereby logic/science, for me, really shines, because there's so many times, even though deniers will say otherwise, science likes to go ahead and say, you know what, I always thought this was the way that it was. Let me check and find out. Perfect example, how many times has the calculation been run to find out what the speed of light is?
Calculation or observation? But yeah.
But that's exactly it. I mean, we've gotten so many times when it's been calculated and been observed and been demonstrated and been experimented on, and we found out that there is apparently a lower limit to the speed of light, which is 0. We've been able to find that out. We've been able to make that happen. We've stopped photons in their place and then been able to put them back to their normal upper speed limit. We've done that. And we always assumed that light just had a constant speed, and then we find out there's actually a different speed when it goes through a different material, and then it jumps back up again after it comes out of that.
Yeah.
And now we found out that we can actually, with the right conditions, literally stop it in place. Until this year, I didn't know, I'm sorry, the last calendar year, I didn't know that that was even a possibility. Now,
Yeah, I've never heard of this. They've stopped. They delay it. You can delay like science.
true enough, but yeah, I could be wrong. I think it's in a haze of galenium atoms, I think. I could be remembering it incorrectly. I'm going off the top of my head and trying to remember it. I don't really remember it that well.
They weren't actually able to stop it, but
delay it. No?
Considering the speed of light as we perceive it normally, it was perceptively standing still.
Oh, from our frame of reference. Okay.
Yes. I mean, just to say that it was completely and totally still among space and time, not really. But we're talking,
Yeah, I mean,
fucking.
From our point of view, it was a delay. but if I remember correctly. I think I know what you're talking about, Shujin.
We've just had a brilliant example there, Joseph, where you mentioned like still in space and time, and that seems to make sense.
So help me if one spacey, wacy, timey-wimey reference comes out of you.
No timey thing coming out of me, but it's a question of the frame of reference. How are you looking at this, and what does still in space and time actually mean? Because the Earth's spinning on its axis, it's going around the sun's going around the galaxy's going who knows where. Is the whole universe stationary or is it moving? I don't know.
Do you really think you're sitting still in that chair? Hell no, you're moving at about 12 from just the reference of, the planet. You're still moving at about 12 1,200 kilometers an hour.
Well, in my particular case, if I'm playing 70s music, you can add an extra meter back and forth every second or so. I mean, I like to dance in my place.
Yeah, but it's very often you can take like such an obvious assumption that and it's not until you actually look about it and think, what does this mean? Or does it actually mean anything? One guy that does this and has been the subject of ad hominems as well has been Brian Dunning from the Skeptoid podcast. Because one of the first things he ever does when he looks at something, an event, and the questions of, he deals with things like ghost sightings and UFOs and all kinds of nutty things. But the first thing he does before he asks, like, what happened or how did this happen or whatever, is, did this event happen?
Yeah.
Is the thing we're looking at actually a thing?
And that actually brings me up to something that I was going to address a moment ago. Shujin, the argument you were looking for was not, gray versus pink. It was the invisible pink elephant argument.
Okay, which loosely goes...
An elephant cannot be both invisible and pink. It's not possible. For it to be pink, it would have to be an object that reflects not one, but two complementary wavelengths of light. If it were invisible, it would not reflect any light, and therefore have no color. It's a self-contradictory argument.
And for it to be an elephant, it would have to have the attributes of an elephant, one of which is being visible.
And one would assume typically not pink.
Well, you could paint an elephant pink or...
Yeah, what could do wonders with a can of paint.
I'm guessing...
Did I just break more people?
Say it with a crowd.
I'm starting to get the feeling that I have blown a few fuses for a few folks.
No,
Good.
it makes sense.
It's true enough. There are a lot of arguments where we've heard people where we know full well that the arguments, points, premises, their expectations, their assumed items as truisms are built on nothing but sandcastles, to use another euphemism, where with a little bit of poking, it all just falls apart. But people will continue on using them, which annoys us to no end, because nothing drives us nuts more than people who will just keep using the same blasted argument time and time and time again, because they're so used to the same damn thing. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
You mean like all of the apologists out there?
And I
But
think
that's why they do it, because it works. Otherwise they'd stop.
Yeah, because we as skeptics and critical thinkers get so sick of listening to it, we eventually shut up and we say in our own type of arrogance, hey, look, we've beaten you already. Nothing more you can say is going, like, you got nothing new. But the trouble is, if they keep repeating it while the rest of us go silent, well, they still kind of win because they're still speaking and people are still listening.
Yeah, if memory serves, the guys at Atheist Experience of Austin, they have had an acronym that they've used for a little while now called RATT, RATT, refuted 1,000 times. And it's something whereby they have said in no small terms, in no bigger terms necessary, this is something that's been discounted thousands of times already. Shut up. Stop using that argument because it's wrong. And Heretic Woman, perfect example. You were talking a little while ago about the group chat that you were on a couple of weeks ago. They were trying to bring God forward or whatever the hell it was.
Oh, yes, I did my show on it this week, actually. But yes, I know what you mean. Growing limbs and such, yeah.
Yes.
And Tech's not here because he actually came on the show with us a little bit, but something we called the oh crap, it's gone right out of my head now. The accordion ball massage. Check out my show. We will tell you all about it.
Yeah, I after last week's show here, we were doing a little bit of off air, and I actually sent that to Shujin over Skype after he'd left.
Yes.
I could actually see the look on your face, Shu, when you read that because of your response.
Yeah, thank you. Dallin, I'm going to bestow something on you that I haven't bestowed onto anyone since I left high school. So you can accept this as juvenile if you like. It kind of is. Do you know what this is? This is the Flying Asshole Award. Congratulations. You've earned it this time. Thank you.
Achievement unlocked.
Exactly right. Man. So, okay. So you were on with these guys.
Yes.
You guys were trying to bring God forward on a Skype call, of all things, or whatever the hell it was.
Yes.
Were there any new items that you had never heard before these people try to use?
No. It was they sounded like psychics, except they were invoking Jesus instead of spirits or waving crystals around. That was the gist of it. I'd heard it all before. I mean, the invoking Jesus was somewhat. It was a little less common than what I've seen, but it was basically the Holy Spirit can allow me to command the powers and yada yada. And they all thought it was unique because they called it an experiential debate. But there was no actual debate going on. Yeah, it's... If you want to get into the nitty gritty, we cover the whole thing in my show, and we were in pain by the time we were done because our faces hurt from laughing. I'm serious. I had cramps in my face. It was awful, but oh yeah, but no. They thought they were all being, we're gonna bring something different to the table, and it's like. So you want us to go by personal experience, and you're calling it something else, okay?
Yeah,
okay, go ahead.
Go on, Shujin.
Well, I was going to say, last night, Joey and Dallin will tell you, Joey had a list that we were talking through, like we mentioned about off air a little while ago, and my whole face hurt just from trying really hard not to laugh a lot of times. But I got something else I wanted to hit. Chris, you go ahead because my piece is going to take a couple seconds.
I think there was a point I think you were heading towards earlier, Shujin, and Deborah's just brought it up about personal experience. Right? There are people place a lot of weight on personal experience and what they've seen themselves. And it brings up more generally the question of how, when we're looking at a claim or an idea or something, what standard of evidence do we require before we accept it? If it's something within our everyday experience, we may not question it. It may not be worth questioning it. If it's something sort of minor and everyday, but it could still be wrong. And as sort of police forces and people know, like, eyewitness accounts are absolutely horrible as a form of evidence. People will, not through any sort of malice or deceitfulness, but just through the workings of the human brain, their stories will shift over time. They'll get more elaborate, or people's in a group stories will converge, and these things. So we know personal experience is not the best way of always looking at things. But how do you decide? How do people in their lives decide when they're looking at a claim how much scrutiny should you subject it to?
That's fair enough. All right. So Beth, by the way, and hi, Han. Thank you. Beth is going ahead and get a piece over here. Reiki plus Pentecostalism. Did I say that right? Sure. You know what? I'm going with that. I'm doubling down. I don't care. Plus woo. Sigh.
Yes, that's what it was, pretty much. They didn't speak in tongues, thankfully, but I bet if they had a bit more time, they might have tried that too.
Well, then I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be here tonight because your face would have been like in traction from laughing so hard.
Yeah, I know.
And
the best part was when they were trying to grow out this guy's arm. And he's like, oh, well, now the other one is longer than the one that was longer before. And the woman's like, oh, I just want to apologize for growing the wrong arm out. And we're like...
I mean, yeah.
Do you do other parts as well?
Yeah. If you gotta grow something, I got a better idea than my freaking arm, let me tell you.
I know some men who want some extensions.
And who was it who was it
who cosmetic surgery every year?
Hold on, who was it
out of that?
Who was it that's still trying to get over the whole horses and donkeys thing in the Bible? I'm trying to remember, who was that?
Miss
that's Deborah. Yeah.
Oh, me too. In fact, and those of you who've been around my Facebook lately know that last weekend as well we had a meetup again, and we were accosted by Bible Barbie, and I kind of unleashed.
What is Bible Barbie?
Bible Barbie was this cute little blonde girl that came to our table and wanted to make sure we knew that she was praying for us. That's our nickname for her, is Bible Barbie, because she was like this little blonde thing. But Ezekiel 23:20. But my point was, if you really truly think that you can grow people's limbs, why the hell are you not camped outside a prosthetics lab and growing back amputees' limbs, huh?
I mean, and that's exactly the kind of claim I was talking about, because it's something that would have potentially major impact on people's lives, on their being able to grow people's limbs back. It would be absolutely amazing, and we can stop messing around with like spending like millions and millions on research into prosthetics and all the rest of it, and it'd be wonderful, right? So that's a claim. Like a claim, it's going to have major impact on people if it's right, on there. So it's something that we should perhaps have a look at. And it's quite clear that these people obviously never have.
Exactly.
on that, because it would be very, very easy to test. And and I'm hoping everyone in the audience just sees this is completely at odds with everything else we know about the way the world works, and we can pretty much dismiss it out of hand.
Yep,
It doesn't matter really, because their audience are, religious is only interested in you if you don't have any problems, if you're comfortable and wealthy and all that. So their
Actually,
audience.
they love you if you're wealthy because of the tithing.
Oh,
Yes.
well, that's it.
The 10% you have is probably a lot different from the 10% I have. And between the two of us, if one of our 10% is more, they're gonna like that person a whole lot more than the other person, because that 10% means more money in their pocket.
And they're going to push you to the front of the stage because you're the
Yeah.
example of the perfect, healthy Christian. And as soon as you have problems, you're either pushed to the back or you become bait for donations. So
Now I'm going to have a little bit of fun at this one, by the way, because of the way. Oh, absolutely! Please, by all means.
I was just going to disagree with something Joseph said there. That I think that this kind of claim and this kind of belief really does matter because of the impact it has on real people's lives. If people are going to a faith healer to get their leg back instead of going to their physio and their doctor and whatever, then this is going to have an impact on their lives.
Well, how many times have we seen that recently?
Yeah, and I mean, and it goes for the homeopathy, the acupuncture. Beth's already mentioned the Reiki, the crystal healing, the whatever else. There's hundreds of them, and I personally know sort of people that have been scammed out of money funding these kind of treatments and stuff. And so
I've been doing. Yeah.
And all we see is the success stories. We don't see the things that don't work.
Yeah. So I've been. Importance of questioning in your life these claims you come across. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I've been doing research on the Scientologists because our show this week is on Scientology, and it's crazy how they, like the one lady, she was in Scientology for I think it was like 30 years, and she's an epileptic, and they told her, because she was in their elite force of the Sea Organization, that she shouldn't be taking any medication if she's in the Sea Org. And she's like, I'm epileptic, and they said, no, you don't need it. You're OT, whatever. You don't need medication. And so she stopped taking medication and was having grand mal seizures and was losing her short-term memory until her mother stepped in and said, no, you're going to die if you don't start taking your medication. And she said she took the medication and she fought Scientology for 30 years on whether she should be taking, like they kept trying to talk her out of it, even though it was demonstrably obvious that she would lose her health if she didn't take this medication. But it was her fault if she needed the medication, it was just ridiculous. But for 30 years, she still bought into the rest of the bullshit, and it's mind-boggling. But when you're brainwashed, you don't see that. You think, oh well, this is gonna happen. I just have to, bolster my faith about it, and then maybe I'll get there. But I shouldn't need my medicine.
And just the utter amorality of it, because all that matters to them is the message they're putting across. So if if reality doesn't conform to their message, they're just going to throw you under the bus and they're going to push you to the back of the stage. They're basically going to bury you if you stop taking medication and you die. You just don't exist anymore.
It was your fault. You weren't faithful enough, or in Scientology, it was you. What do they call it? You drew in the negative or whatever kind of crap, and it's always, and it seems to be a constant through pretty much every religion. If something good happens, it was because of whatever god or whatever religion, and if something bad happens, it's your fault. Just always that way.
Yeah, Chris, I want to give you the opportunity to finish off your thought at this point, because I like I said, I've still got my thing I want to get.
In a way, what was Deborah was just saying there comes back to sort of personal experience and the way cults control people's personal experience and views of the world, so they don't see anything that's inconsistent with what's being preached on there. It's so they don't sort of to question it, or if they do, it's quashed very quickly on there to preserve that. And again, this is sort of brings in the importance of speaking out and raising these questions, and trying to sort of counter some of this bullshit to encourage people to do likewise and maybe question other things in their lives.
Okay, so here's the piece I wanted to get to, and Joey, I'm gonna call on you in a couple of moments to fill in a blank over here. I want you to look up a German, Austrian, I forget where he was from, Eric Weiss, W, I believe it was, Eric Weiss. He was a bondage expert. And this is not going to seem like it comes back around, but trust me, this is actually going to work. Eric Weiss was an entertainer of sorts, I guess you could say. He was a master of bondage, which was all the rage, believe it or not, at the time. Straitjackets, chains, ropes, you name it. He got tied up into it one way or another, restrained all over the place, dumped into rivers, and that kind of thing, and it was really an amazing person. But
are you meaning it's escapology here, Shujin?
I don't know what that word is.
Not the best.
Like as in the Houdini thing, because my mind just went somewhere else when you started talking about bondage.
Well, that's kind of the reason I was going that way. Eric Weiss, also known as Harry Houdini, was an expert in what he did. And there was good reason for it, because he learned every fact that he could about every method that there was of restraining someone with locks, with knots, with all of the materials, with all of the technology that went into locks, how they were designed, why they were designed, and how do you circumvent it to do what it wasn't supposed to do.
Houdini was more escaping, and bondage is kind of the opposite. The whole point is to be tied up.
Which he was. Now, here's the point. He was devastated when his mother passed away. And he fell into following along with these seances to contact the dead back at the turn of the 20th century and such. Heretic woman, would it be too far-fetched to call what you were describing a seance?
Not too far, because they did do some cold reading later on. Although they stipulated it had to be a live person that you were thinking about, oddly enough. But it did get that way. Foda called it a digital missionary trip.
There you go. Now,
but yeah, it could fall into seance-y kind of stuff.
Okay, now that you've completely boyardeed the joke of it all, thank you so much. The point of it was, Harry got pissed. He got pissed off when he finally realized, not too long after, what these people were doing. They were doing tricks. They were doing conjuring, as James Randi likes to put it now. They were pulling...
Harry Houdini was the original James Randi.
Oh, God, yes. And he went around debunking people in person. He was known in the circles. People were watching for him and would not let him into their seances. He got to be very good with disguising himself with costumes and changing his face and whatnot. And they did not like that he was cutting into their profits at all.
Mm-hmm.
He, one of the finest performers ever in this august company of which James Randi is part of, which I would love to get the opportunity of just to say, good on you, sir. Never mind shake his hand. And he went ahead and he told everybody, this is wrong and I can show that it's wrong and here's how it's done. And James has done exactly the same stuff 50 years later, 60 years later. And why?
And it's the same
Why?
stuff a lot of it.
Exactly. That's the problem. This is the piece that pisses me off as a layperson. I am not a performer other than, for you people with this piece of this thing right here, this thing. And it pisses me off because that's money. That's people's hard-earned money who maybe in a lot of cases can't afford to read the fine print that says for entertainment purposes only. And they're being duped into giving up their money. For what? For performances.
And it's not just the money, it's the heartache, it's like messing around with and conning like people whose children or spouses or parents or whatever have died recently, and taking advantage of them.
It's just pure exploitation.
And there are some people that will say that, okay, some of these people believe that they can genuinely talk to the dead, and whatever. And maybe there are a few, but when it gets to like the level of doing the seances with like the props and the table tapping, whatever, you have to orchestrate that. You have to know what you're doing, and you are coldly like taking advantage of someone who's bereaved. And I don't think you get much lower as a human being than that.
Yep, and you're taking us right where I wanted to go at this point. How many times have we heard of Mr. Popoff? I believe the answer of anything more than 0 is a travesty. We've got, and I'll pronounce it properly, Uri Geller. We've got, oh Jesus, the Long Island medium who makes me ashamed to claim to be from Long Island.
John Edwards.
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes. And oh, I'm sorry, I've almost forgotten. Joey, you've got the smoke voice. Can you go ahead and put that woman's name out there in proper?
Oh God, you mean her? I don't remember her name.
That's okay. I don't think that we
I know
need
what you're talking about. I just don't remember her name.
Sylvia Bryan.
That's it.
Sylvia Bryan. Oh yes.
Wait.
Oh yes. There's been a few.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah, that's her. Okay,
Yeah.
so
I'm sounding less like Sylvia and more like what?
I know the guy you're talking about. At least I know the actor.
No. If you ever seen the Venture Brothers, never mind.
nope, no idea. All right. Anyway, so here's where the last piece of this whole how to be a skeptic falls into place. These disgusting, I have no other word for it, these absolutely disgusting, reprehensible, poor excuses for oxygen deprivation of the atmosphere. The only good that comes out of these people is they're actually breathing so that they can feed the plants that go ahead and let the rest of us breathe. I can't think of anything better than that.
Well, their death would feed the plants too.
You know what?
Actually, even if they're cremated, I guess there's still some mineral value to that. It's largely calcium, but hey, it's all natural.
There is that. Heretic Woman, what are you showing off?
I'm showing the earliest known, quote, spirit photograph.
Oh,
That is
no.
Why
That
does
is
she look so
Mary,
smug?
that's Mary Todd Lincoln, and that's supposed to be Honest Abe standing behind her some years after he croaked.
You know, I looked at that really quickly, and I thought I saw James Kirk there.
Could be.
You know, the really bad thing is there's
It's Ken Ham.
there's a show I listen to which believe it or not isn't related to atheism or skepticism, and there was one particular moment where a Russian strongman invaded a photo, and as soon as Heretic One put that up, all I could hear was the narrator of that story going, "Photo grenade," because they didn't know photo bomb.
Chris, you were going to say.
Yeah, and that's obviously a double exposure photograph
Yes.
there. Yeah, and
Yes.
you'll know about this from your ghost hunting days, Deborah. But there are particularly with early photography techniques, there are so many different photographic distortions you can get from things like stuff moving quickly across a lens, poor exposures, something on the lens or in the mechanism, whatever. And these,
I don't have any examples, but the quote fairy pictures were well known back in the day.
Oh, yes.
the Conan Doyle's, yeah. I mean, that's a case of
Yes.
deliberate fakery. But
Absolutely.
again, some people set their bar of evidence so low that they're willing to accept these as proof of like ghost spirits, Bigfoot, UFOs,
Yep.
Elvis being alive, you name it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no,
And these
there's a
are
lovely
well
example.
understood.
Oh, that's ectoplasm. Yeah.
That's ectoplasm, and that looks like a distorted animal face. It might be a dog. I'm not sure. What the hell?
That's clearly a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what's caused that distortion in the photo, but
Yeah, and the ectoplasm looks awful lot like yarn roving to me.
And if you want a professional photographer point of view, they're not
yes,
even
we do.
taken from. The dog was taken with a wide millimeter lens, and the guy was taken with a longer lens. So it's not even the same perspective. So
Yeah,
I didn't
pretty.
even pick up on
My
that.
thing, the raw yarn or wool is what gets me laughing. It's like, oh yeah, that's so ectoplasm. Oh, and here's another one. Here's another one for you.
Them Photoshop skills.
Well, this one is probably from the 1930s. Just kind of
You're
guessing
going to need
from.
extra stream Kleenex for that one. Holy cow. Okay, look, I've sneezed pretty extreme in my days. I don't think I've ever sneezed anywhere near as extreme as that.
get this woman a bowl.
Yeah.
Get her some frickin' Otravin, man. She's got problems.
Um,
I'm lost now. How do we get from logic to this?
I don't know.
No,
We're trying to make logic of it.
No. It's the show's logical progression. We try to start out serious, and we always end up in a debauch. It's one domino after another. We go into the
Where is this line of dominoes going?
Alice, we're
straight to hell, my friend.
Alice, we're too far down the rabbit hole.
Well, here's
A handkerchief there, but I don't think it's going to quite do the job.
Why is it in an armpit? That's disgusting.
It's an old thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, so here's where that domino thing is going. We need to understand that the stuff that we have been looking at now, it's not new. It's not new. It's been around it's been debunked thousands of times. Over 100 years ago, Harry Houdini was looking at this stuff and going, this is wrong. This is stuff that I used to do as trickery, and at least I admitted to it. Hell, freaking James Randi will go ahead and say, I'm here to entertain you. I'm going to make you see things that you aren't going to believe because it's not what you think it is. So let's have fun. Penn and Teller will do the same damn thing.
Penn and Teller.
They will do exactly the same damn thing. They will tell you, I'm here to trick you. That's what you paid me to do. Here we go. And they are masters of their art. You want to see this from a much more fun perspective. That's what a ventriloquist will do. It's in your face, and it's hard to separate sometimes in the middle of watching, Jeff Dunham when he's got like 3-4 characters running simultaneously, and you're going, wait a minute, these are all him. I'm looking at a one-man show for 2 hours, but there's 4 characters, but they're not. What is it that I'm looking at? And
honesty.
I mean, if you ever get to see a good face-to-face, or street magician that does the close-up tricks, even with them standing right in front of you, you can't see how it's done unless you know what you're looking for. And there's an old quote about a couple of people going to a seance. They were meant to be experts or something, and they go there and they say, well, we went there and we saw no evidence of deceit. Of course they didn't, because they weren't illusionists or whatever. They were, I don't know, experts in something irrelevant. But just because you can't see immediately how someone's done or understand something, it doesn't mean. I mean, it's where was I going with that? Sorry, it's too early in the morning. It doesn't mean that it's real magic, or it's really people talking to the dead, or really people doing whatever it is they claim to do. On there, you have to judge it by what else do we know about the world and how the world works on there. And if something is completely at odds, then you start looking, is this a trick? And how is it done? Or how are similar tricks done?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, there's so many times over when the same damn thing has been done over, and all you typically need to do is just, okay, why does this work?
That's the fun of it.
Exactly.
How the fuck did he trick me?
Yeah,
and even if you know well, seeing it done well is still good. It's still fun.
That's actually where I was coming. What I was going to say is, it took, I actually saw a documentary. It was done by a magician. I use that term. He was confessing some of the secrets of some of the most well-known illusions that you would go to a stage show to see.
Yep.
And of course, he had to be in a mask because apparently there's what Penn and Teller are doing is actually it's apparently violating quite a old code system.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like they take it very seriously. But what this guy showed, and this is the one that stuck out of my head the most, was the levitating person.
Mm-hmm.
They lay down on the bed or on the platform. They take the supports away. Ta-da! They're floating. They take the hoop and they run it back and forth. Well, they showed how it was done. And all I could think of was, even though now I know this, now that I know that they use a special beam that has, and by beam I mean a piece of steel, that has a special S-curve in it so that you can do the motion of the hoop.
Yep.
And still make it look like you're passing through everything. It's like Chris said, it's the presentation. That's
greetings.
Hello.
Oh crap, we got Nick bombed.
Hello.
Just in time for the end of the show. Welcome.
On this subject of the photo grenade, here we go.
Ooh, that's quite the hat.
It almost
Man of plan.
Okay.
And the bow tie.
Yes.
Of
Okay. So
course.
Okay, with your distortion there, Nick, that looked like chainmail for a second there.
okay. So everybody's on board who is still watching at the moment. Of course. Thank you very much. Very quickly from way down under. Good afternoon, Nick.
How you doing, Shujin?
Yeah, Nick sent me an IM just a couple of moments ago and just said, "Hey, look, I've got a couple of minutes. I'm stealing some Wi-Fi. I might have to pay for it later. I don't know if it's got something to do with like insects that are looking to kill you or anything, but he decided he was going to pop in for a few minutes to
Hey.
profusely
These are his
apologize."
last words.
I'm totally mustached out now. There's like 3 epic mustaches in the house.
I'm sorry. I will never grow one. Like I said before, my ex-wife loved it, and I just can't.
Oh, Shujin's going to send everybody fake mustaches for the next show.
You know, honestly, I should go to a costume
They can
shop
print
and
one
look
out. Oh, you can just print one out and then stick it on.
There
Get a
we go.
marker.
Yeah, like that.
Get out some
Oh, there we go. Actually, I don't know if our friends across the pond and down under know about. You ever heard of a tradition called Movember?
Yeah, we do it every year.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that gives me a really bad idea for this winter, but
Not a worries. So anyway, let me really quickly before we get you. How much time do we have with you, by the way, Nick?
I can hang for about 5 minutes, and I got to get going.
Okay, in that case, let me go ahead and plug all the stuff that you're going to be doing at the moment.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, Nick was scheduled to be on originally. Things got a little on the weird side. I'm glad that everything's working for you. Next week, you're going to be on with us. We're pretty sure at this point, right?
Yeah. I don't have anything on next weekend, so yeah, I'll come on for the full show.
Okay.
Oh, sure. When I'm away, meh.
Aw.
I'm going to be at ReasonCon though. Oh, you're going to be visiting my room in Skype, right?
Yes.
So
I'll be
there we go.
Skyping into your room. Yeah.
All right. Woo.
oh, is that what they're calling it these days?
That's
Yeah.
right.
So really quickly, Nick, the title that I'm going to be using for the show next week is Punchline to the Throat. So
Yeah.
you want to really quickly explain for folks. You read it over, of course. Give a quick rundown as to how and what we're going to be discussing with you next week. Then.
Well, we're going to be talking about subversive comedy, and specifically the way in which we can use dirty and dark humor to tackle serious themes in a positive light. Quite frankly, I'm always disgusted when people are telling me what I can and cannot talk about. Anything can be funny, not anything is, So we're going to talk about the difference between theme and subject. And we're also going to talk about, some of the ins and outs of how comedy actually works and the ways that we can use it to our advantage to put across a clear idea of where we want to go with the world. And that's why I do comedy. That's what I'm doing with my sets. So, and that's what I'm building my career around, the concept of dirty jokes, but good message.
Very good. And just before I let you get out of here, and I'm going to have everybody give a chance to say goodnight for you. For Tiny Tribble, would you please confirm or deny, sir, is that actually your real name?
Yes, that's my name.
You know full well she's going to have a great smile in the morning seeing that finally. And we hope that you had a good laugh.
Yes, that was hilarious. Thank you so much for sending me that.
For those that don't know, for whatever reason, we did a little video short, about 40 seconds worth, and had good time at his expense. And I'll try to remember to put the link into the information bar for this.
Oh, definitely do it. Your little one, she has a glorious moustache of her own, and I think that was wonderful. Pretty similar to the one that you just pulled off there. So yeah, that's wicked.
That's what happens when you're Italian, partially. It just kind of happens that way.
No. It was the curly locks coming across, and throwing it onto her face. The hair sash, one of those.
Yes, one of these.
Mm.
I was actually telling her that I wanted to buy that that particular bottle, so that if you come through this area, I can just give it to you. But then at the same time, I thought, I don't think that he drinks milk. It's much more alcohol involved. But oh well, whatever.
You can have a White Russian.
Of course you can. Sure, that'll work.
But what state are you in?
I'm in New York, but I am about as far away from New York City as you get. I'm actually very close onto the border with Canada. If you were to look at the map, I am very reasonably close to Niagara Falls. I'm actually much south of that, but Buffalo, New York, south of there.
I can be there in an hour and a half.
Yeah, it'll take me significantly longer than that. But at this stage, it looks like I will be visiting the States in August, September, October, sort of around that area. So around that time. So I'll see exactly how far I can go because I want to do as many gigs as I can while I'm over there. And so, yeah, hopefully we'll be able to tee something up. If not this trip, then definitely the next one. Yeah, so thanks for having me on again just for a couple of minutes to plug next week's episode. Looking forward to it.
No worries. Just before you do go, the last thing that we were talking about were the supposed psychics who are just leeches on society. We've hit all of the major ones up on this side. Is there one that's very prominent in Australia or Melbourne and such that you would think of?
None that jump to mind.
You're lucky.
I can't.
Lucky.
Yeah, really. We just don't have that much. There's psychic fairs going on all the time. I see a lot of them cancelled due to unforeseen circumstances, which yeah, a little bit ironic, definitely. But
Meryl Dory comes to mind for that one, but that's okay.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Nice.
But in the meantime, seriously, thank you so very much, and you take care of yourself. And we will, so long as the drop bears don't get you, we'll see you next week, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'll just quickly plug my couple things. So I'm Nick Morganmore. If you want to hear me telling jokes on a podcast, you can tune the imaginaryfriendshow.com podcast. We have we're having a special episode this week with comedian / scientician Robin Ince, and so that's going to be a really exciting episode. If you want to find me personally, if you're in Australia, you can come and see me do some comedy in person. Just check out my social medias. I have a Facebook page under my name, a comedian page. I'm also on Twitter at Nick Morganmore. That's my name.
I was going to think about having everybody go ahead and do it with you, but that would be gauche. So thank you much, and good afternoon for you, man. Thank you.
Have a good one, guys.
Cheers.
Take it easy.
See you in my room next weekend.
Yes.
Oh my.
Yes, you will. All right. So,
However,
In my room.
I'm a little sad that he had to leave so quickly. I didn't want to interrupt because I knew there was stuff that had to be done. He was on a short time limit. But when he mentioned the fact that he will be stopping by the U.S. Later this year, I wanted to say that normally at this point, this is where I would apologize for my fellow Americans. But then again, at this point, I've just, you know what? I claim no responsibility.
nothing wrong with that. So, thank you, Nick. All right, so let's finish off this section. As far as to these bloodsuckers, almost literally, for people's emotions and money and such, these seance gurus, these talkers with the dead. Yeah, I don't know who I would consider the worst offender of them all, short of, well, Sylvia's dead, which, how ironic would it be if John Edward were to start channeling her? I think that would be terribly, terribly disgusting. But
I think that would be funny.
I do too. I think that would be hilarious. John Edward, for me, has got to be the absolute worst of them all
Yeah.
at this point.
Actually, he hit
yeah.
kind of close to home here not too long or a few years back. I go back to the wrestling world when Owen Hart passed away.
Mm.
Owen Hart, better known as the Blue Blazer, better known as a few others. His shtick in World Wrestling Entertainment was he was an acrobat, a high flyer. Like this guy made a luchador look like a ground pounder just with his antics. Very, very good at what he did. But during one performance, there was an accident. He fell. I think he broke his neck, and he didn't make it out. Now, Owen Hart is part of the Hart family, which is located here in Calgary, Alberta. This is where that entire family of wrestlers, this is where they're based. The most notable one is Bret the Hitman Hart, Owen's brother.
Yes.
And also one of the founding members of the Calgary Hitmen hockey team, I might add. Actually had the chance to see Bret Hart in person. He ain't that tall, you know that? But that's another story entirely. But again, I'm 6'3", so a lot of people look short compared to me. Anyways, this John Edwards fellow, I'm using that term loosely. I'm trying to be nice here. Had Bret Hart on his show, Crossing Over with John Edwards. I don't even know if it's on anymore. And he was trying to channel Owen. And I just remember, I think it was my wife had a few comments about it. And all I could really do was just facepalm. I mean, I was still a moderate believer back then, but even then I knew this is bull crap.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is some serious holy crap. Like,
Yeah, the whole reason for the show naming isn't what it is.
yeah. But it was just seeing that, and then of course, my now ex was also a very big animal lover. And on the Animal Planet show, there was one psychic, we didn't mention it, but she was called the Pet Psychic.
Oh, God.
This was totally the female Dr. Doolittle. Except she had one segment of the show where she could actually talk to animals who had already crossed over. So you're dragging out, Joe and Mrs. Six-Pack, who just lost their poodle, and they got a picture of the poodle. And hey, look, okay, I had a dog, I had a cat, I love them both. I mean, I found out my cat died, 2 years after my divorce. Yeah, I was heartbroken because I remember that little fuzzball. I was the one that got her home when she was like, 4 weeks old. And she died at 20. So I had that cat for that long, and I was devastated when I found out she died. But am I going to go running to somebody with a really screwed up accent and say, hey, can you channel my cat's spirit? What am I supposed to say? Sorry you're gone? And what's my cat gonna say in response? Meow. Like but I was really offended when I saw her just raking these people's emotions over the coals.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad enough. I mean, I went home that night, I had a couple of drinks, I didn't want to think. Because, well, I knew this was going to happen. My only wish is that I'd actually been there when it happened, so that I could say goodbye my own way, but I never got that chance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's one regret. But am I going to go to a psychic and say, hey, can you channel my cat so I can tell her goodbye? No. It's just, I still have a picture of her around here. It's actually on my sort of mantelpiece back out in the living room. Just so I can remember what she was like.
Yeah.
By the way, thank you very much. You just gave me the ending that I'm going to use. Over in the Q&A, we've got a couple of listings of people who fall into this category. Beth, who is telling us John Edward is I think there's something wrong with your typing. There's something. I think you got a couple of together on. You might want to look into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Let's see. Van Prague was also another one of those names
Oh
that came up.
yes, Van Prague.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who Renee, by the way, thank you very much. I hope things are going well for you. Van Prague, okay. Maybe this is wrong of me to say, but am I the only one that looks at Mr. Van Prague and thinks $3 bill?
Do you know he was a consultant on what the hell's the ghost show with Jennifer Love Hewitt? Ghost Whisperer.
Oh, yeah.
He was a consultant on Ghost Whisperer, which back in the day I totally loved that show. And then I found out what kind of assholes those guys are. So.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. I just went to his page. Yeah, James Van Prague, and it's like, meet JVP. What's new, JVP? I'm like, give me a break.
You know what? That's so funny that you do that. That they do that, because in Scientology they don't call him L. Ron Hubbard. It's LRH, and that just totally like, oh, JVP, LRH. They're all crazy, freaking weirdos.
Yeah. Okay. The only one I give any credit to that is JMS.
J. Michael
Those are my
Straczynski.
initials.
Yeah. Thank you, Straczynski. That crazy battle.
No. That was Joseph Stromberg.
Joseph Regan Schomburg.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you invent the internet too? Hey, see, I really can't do that because I go under an alias here. So what am I supposed to say? That's not my name.
Sure, why not? Joey, you look very confused. Are you well?
I just
Okay, that's fine. You know what? That's fine. Whatever it is you're drinking, that's fine. So,
Actually, I'm beginning to think that we as a panel are contributing to him needing one of those 12-step programs.
Mm.
Oh,
don't get me started on that, because I will. That's a subject for an entire show that I could go on to, and
that might be one from the notebooks.
that will have to be a power of 10. I'm sorry to say.
don't be sorry for that. Let's see. There you go. Beth has also got the other one. That was the woman, I couldn't remember her name. Caputo.
Oh yes, Caputo.
The Long Island medium
with helmet hair.
Oh God.
Oh,
you know,
okay, that's how it's spelled.
Yeah,
No,
Caputo.
Yeah, the second you said Caputo, that my first thought was, wait a minute, I know a heavy metal band by that name.
No, you don't. Look, Ms. Caputo, darling. Let me speak it to you in terms that you understand. No more Aquanet. Thanks. Appreciate that a lot. Really.
And I mean, okay, I have fingernails, but that woman has friggin' talons.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
who was that? She got Flojo nails.
Yeah.
Her and Sylvia Brown. Like, I'm sorry, you're giving people with cool nails a bad name. Stop it.
Yeah. There's that. This other one, I'm trying to remember. Jean Dixon. I know the name, but I can't place.
I'm not familiar with that one.
There. By the way, am I back? Okay.
Yes, you are.
You were back twice, and then you're back once now.
He's cloned himself.
And he's gone.
Oh,
And he's back.
Are you actually back?
I think he's still trying to connect.
Oh,
Chris is
man.
our official yo-yo emulator.
Well, last I remembered, there was a way of getting telephone service, really, really good cell phone service through the TARDIS. For some reason, I don't understand that.
You have to bang the bongos really hard.
Okay, Jean Dixon, I got some info on her. Oh yeah, you're gonna love this one. This comes from a website I found. It's called alamongordo.com. The mysteries of life, prophecies, and predictions for the future. The sum of secret knowledge. So yeah, yeah. You'll just have to pardon me. I'm about to try to induce a couple of chuckles here. Apparently, here is a list of Jean Dixon prophecies that were fulfilled. And you know what? I should point out. No, screw it. I got this thing working now. I can do this. Look very closely where it says Gene Dixon prophecies that were fulfilled.
Apparently, she didn't have the foreknowledge to get a web designer that can spell and use grammar.
Yeah. So for those of you at home that might be having some trouble reading this, and for the fact that I'm going to be turning this to an audio show at some point, these were the Gene Dixon prophecies that were fulfilled.
And which where is that?
WHERE.
Yeah, as in where's the beef?
Wow, you really went there.
It's the only one I could think of. You can tell I'm actually really want a hamburger tomorrow. Anyways,
Maybe that's where, like, werewolf.
no. If Joseph, if it was that, I'd lend this a little more credence.
No,
I wouldn't. I'm lying, but still.
Joseph, Joseph, if you're going to go ahead and say werewolf, in this particular case, it would be appropriate to answer their wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you listening to this in your iDevice at some point, the Gene Dixon prophecies that were fulfilled. We have the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi, the assassination of Martin Luther King, the assassination of John F. Kennedy, as well as Robert F. Kennedy.
Whoa, Tom, wait. Was Robert shot?
I don't know.
Yeah.
What,
Yes.
Kennedy?
You're not.
Yes.
Yeah,
We're
he
not
was shot
talking.
in the-
Yeah, we're not talking Robert Kennedy Jr., the one who died in the plane crash.
Oh, okay.
No. No, the one in the plane crash was JFK Jr. Robert Kennedy Jr. was Robert Kennedy was JFK's brother, who was assassinated in the hotel after giving his speech when he was going to run for president.
Does it happen to mention how fat Ted Kennedy would get? Or how many people he would kill with his car?
Well, no, actually, because that particular Kennedy, she did not predict anything about. But she
Yeah. Yes.
She also predicted the launch of Sputnik, the sinking of the submarine USS Thresher, the sinking of the submarine called the Scorpion, the political defeat of Dewey by Harry Truman, the plane crash with the killing of UN Secretary Dagg. Okay. The 1947 split of India into Pakistan and India, and the attack of Mehmed Agca on Pope John Paul II. Now,
So
What is this article called? It's the power of 100% hindsight, or what?
no, this is apparently a web page extolling the virtues of Gene Dixon.
2020 hindsight. Sorry.
Yeah, one of these psychics.
Yeah.
Now, her prophecies that have yet
Psychic.
to come true. The assassination of Pope Benedict. And apparently she predicted this in the 1970s. Well, he's
But
not
he-
Pope anymore, so she kind of missed.
yeah.
Pope Benedict will be the last Pope. Wrong. The Earth will be struck by a comet. Maybe. Well, it might be a small one.
Well, it's kind of hard to prove that after we're all dead.
Yeah. You know, and again, I just saw a movie on something like that recently too. Really bad Australian movie. Kind of wish Nick was here. I could talk to him about it. Anyways,
Next week.
and the last one we have here, of course, I'm believing this is the catch-all for every single psychic Nostradamus wannabe out there. The coming of the Antichrist.
Oh, of course.
Yep.
Is his
Satan is
name
now
Obama?
coming. Yeah, Satan is now coming onto the open door to seduce the world, and we should prepare. Oh my!
Is he ringing the doorbell?
Oh,
So
I was actually going to be asking if he was bringing.
Avon! It's Avon calling.
I was going to ask if there was lubricated Trojan ends, but that's just me personally. I don't know.
So it's
Actually-
when their invention is going to come and kill their invention.
yeah. Actually, guys, take a really close look at that first sentence after the coming of the Antichrist.
A little too pixelated on my side, but
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, I'll read it because
Satan is now coming into the open door to seduce the world, and we should prepare for the inevitable.
Stop. We should
Okay.
prepare. The next word is not for. It's fur. F-I-R. F-O-R.
wait a minute. Time out. Hold it.
And
Wait. Let me get this straight. What we have to worry about is Satan's wood. Is that what you're telling me?
Lucifer.
And I've heard fur is pretty damn big too.
Oh.
Are those like the tallest trees around? The fur.
Joey, you are not allowed to leave yet. I'm not looking at you. I see it.
Okay, look, I'm a lover of language. I'm a lover of the written word. This is no.
They're not even trying.
It's
I know.
a travesty.
You know,
And how long has it been up there without correction?
I don't know. When did GeoCities finally end?
Yeah.
What's this ending? I think I can Google my name for that.
By the way, kids, if you don't know what GeoCities is, congratulations.
Yeah, no kidding. Is Angel Fire still around?
I think it just.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I went to a website there last week on this show. I was
They're
looking for
still
something, and I thought I found something with Angel Fire.
Yeah, they're still there.
See, but the hard part of it is it's only indexed right now by Ask Jeeves, is the last I've heard. So keep that in mind. Anyway, we need to wrap this up.
By the way,
all right.
Tucker. Hello, Tucker.
Yes. By the way, guys, thank you very much. And Renee, glad I could help for once. Really, you really need to think more about. Actually, no. We should thank her more often. That's what it should come down to. Thank you.
We should thank everybody that participates in the show. I mean, that's
true. That's true.
Somebody's listening. It's awesome.
Really thank any of you for the garbage that gets put into my head.
Keep it going for another week.
Look at the bright side. At least you got Friday to make you feel better about it all.
I have far
Hey,
too
Chicken,
high an
stop being
IQ to have this kind of. Ugh.
That's fine.
Eugene, you'll be able to stop your tactic of just like inviting more and more people onto the panel to boost listener numbers.
Yeah, let's make Joseph explode.
I have firearms. You have all. Or
Sing higher, higher.
I
think only
know
Deborah
where
will get that.
most of you live.
And
Oh,
you still
good
can't
luck.
come over the border.
Yeah. We don't take too
I'm sorry.
kindly to firearms over here.
I'm sorry. What was that, Dallin?
I thought you
Please.
couldn't come over the border.
Please, no, hold on. Please repeat exactly what you had said previously.
And you still can't come over the border.
No. You see, that is where you are using incorrect terminology. I'm not allowed to come over the border.
Right.
But
there
he'll
goes that-
do it anyway. Yeah.
There
Okay.
goes that whole thing that I talked about yesterday on the other show about, trying to look for the best in people. Yeah, my bad once again.
The difference, may I or can I?
Yes, you can.
He's not
Don't
allowed,
encourage him.
Commercial.
but
You don't encourage him.
Yeah.
I'm an American.
I could come
Hurricane.
anywhere I want.
Joseph, with the way things are over there, you lucky bastard, you could backpack wherever the hell you wanted to go right now. And tell me that
you guys are gonna let. Theoretically, you guys are gonna let me in about 4 days, so you know.
Yes, which is going to be all kinds of good. So we need to go ahead and kind of wrap this sucker up because sleep is really good, and I've got porn that I need to go ahead and I got to look at in a little bit. Let's go ahead and say goodnight for everybody, and with your goodnight for everybody. If there's any last items that you guys want to throw in there, also, Joseph. Thank you. Good morning. I hope that the lights there in the wonderful city are beautiful for you as they turn off and on with the sun coming up. And what would you like to close us with? Yes, you.
Well, I've got nothing to plug, but
I don't care. God damn it! Just be nice to people. Give them a warm fuzzy as you leave.
Well, thanks to everyone for listening, and see you next week.
Put your freaking hat on while you're at it. Fine, that's the way it's going to be fun.
Yes,
Christopher!
yes.
Oh!
Christopher, good morning. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks to everyone who's been here and everyone who's listened. It's been nice to be back. I'm going to be away probably next week because I'm at QED.
With half of our speakers, just you know.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, we got the good half.
So, really quick, QED is where, when, what?
It's next weekend, running from Friday to Sunday, in Manchester, in England, and we've got people like Matt Dillahunty and Aaron Raab coming to speak. It's
and Ryan Bell.
By the, Ryan Bell, and yeah, it's going to be a really good show. Check it out at qed.com. Remember the address, qedcon. something or whatever. It's on the internet somewhere.
Code.uk.
Go to the Merseyside Skeptic Society and look it from there. How's that?
It's in the webs.
Yeah, but they're also having a train engineering works or whatever, so I won't be able to get back between the Saturday night and the Sunday morning to do the show. So it's going to be 2 weeks for me before I'm back here.
Quite all right. Have a great time. Really enjoy yourself.
I will do.
Okay. Joey,
if anyone who's listening sees me there, come and say hello.
Yes, if you are one of our financial supporters, if you've got your official Holy Crap the Vlogcast t-shirts, bring it over to him. He will sign it for you right on your chest. That'll be great.
In exchange for one beer.
Or more. Could be more. Joey, thank you very much. And any last item you want to say as you depart tonight, other than otters?
You had to take them there, didn't you?
Oh man!
Screw your warm fuzzies. You can all go to hell. Don't worry, I'll see you there.
That's perfect. You have no idea how perfect. Heretic Woman, thank you very much. I'm so glad that you gave us a spot on your show here tonight. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. And of course, I do a couple of other little things like Beyond the Trailer Park, Mondays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this week we're going to talk all about the loony Scientologists.
Hold. Wait. It's daylight time. It's not standard. It's daylight.
Okay. Oh. Okay, Eastern Daylight Time. But the Eastern thing, like Ontario and stuff. And I also have my Secular Savior, and we just recorded a new episode on Thursday, and that will be up before the end of the week. So mysecularsavior.com, and this week we're talking about loneliness with Callie Wright of the Gaytheist Manifesto and Rachel Nannon Brown of Atheist on Air, so check us out there. I also will be absent next week as I will be partying my face off at ReasonCon in Hickory, North Carolina.
You're going to be representing us.
I will, absolutely. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on, so if you can go to Hickory for Friday and Saturday, go buy a ticket, because every podcaster under the sun will be there, and so will I, and it's going to be a blast. So, unfortunately, Shujin's going to be down a few people. It's a good thing Nick's coming, because, you know, I know. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
And you're not gonna plug your like contact and Twitter stuff.
At Heretic Woman, at Beyond TT Park is the show, and at My Secular Savior. Beyond the Trailer Park now has its own YouTube channel, Beyond the Trailer Park, so check us out there. My archive of shows is there as well, and like I said, mysecularsavior.com, and we'll see everybody in 2 weeks.
I'm very, very, in all seriousness, as much as I would love to be there and I can't, I really, really, truly do hope that you have yourself an incredibly fun time. Thank you for kind of representing us.
No problem. I will not be sleeping very much. I'm playing Skepperty on Saturday after the lectures. I am playing in the Cards Against Humanity tournament live for charity on Friday. I'm also shooting a movie about ghost hunting and Jedi Jesus on Friday. And I'm just not going to have any time for sleeping whatsoever. So, hopefully I'll be ambulatory by the time the Holy Crap in 2 weeks comes around.
This is your friend. Know this logo well.
I don't like coffee. Coffee's gross.
They have other stuff.
Tea.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to be like, yes, people, I want hot tea, not the sweet tea crap that they drink in the South. Sorry, Ashley, but...
No gay latte?
You both get off my show.
No gay latte.
Both of you get off.
You only get that at Starbucks.
You get out of my show for what you said about coffee, and you get out of my show for endorsing that hellhole.
What, Canada?
No.
You know the expression when hell freezes over?
Yeah, we had that over here. Let's finish it off over here. Dallin, thank you so much. Have a good morning. And what last items would you like to close us with?
If I had to offer one last piece of advice about skepticism, we hit on this earlier about how apologists and presuppositionalists and all those wonderful people that really need to be, force-fed a piece of a bush bumper on the front of a speeding truck. I mentioned before how they constantly use the same argument. But the thing is, they're continuously vocal about it. Yes, there is the rat, refuted 1,000 times. But for every time that they speak it, it is still our duty to refute it. So to those of you who are out there who are getting sick and tired of it, hang in there. You know what? And refine yourself a little bit. Like, if they come at you, look at them with that air like, not only am I going to beat you, I'm going to beat you decisively. Like, make it look like it's nothing more than an exercise in reflex for you. Because that will take the wind out of their sails a hell of a lot faster than anything else. Walking into a debate knowing that you're going to be able to give this guy a smackdown, that's one thing. Knowing that you can do it with authority might finally shut them up. And if it doesn't, just do it again. And keep doing it. Every time they speak, we must also speak. That's what all I really got to say about that.
Forgive me for kind of tooting my own horn a little bit on this one. That whole special friend thing, that's pretty much the thing that we're talking about right there, isn't it?
In a nutshell, yeah. I mean, you've heard it all before. We've had friends who have heard it all before and have done exactly what you've done and what other people have done. And yeah, it's an exercise in repetition, but it still has to be done because they keep doing it.
Start attacking the motive.
Yeah. If nothing else, we should be thanking them. Because if they keep using the same tired old arguments, we can keep using the same tired old refutations. We don't have to really think about it.
I'd much rather have the challenge of facing something fresh and moving
well,
the
I
situation
think a lot of people would, Chris, but when it comes to that particular kind of debate, new shit don't exist.
It's just new vocabulary, that's all.
Yeah. Phil Robertson,
Right.
a very dramatic, a very gory presentation. You boil it all down, it's the same damn trope.
Yep.
Morals without religion.
And that's where I end up closing us up with. One of the things that has been mentioned a couple of times over is the emotional factor of it all. And with this last piece that we were talking about, these emotional bloodsuckers, like the talk with the dead folks, the incredible amount of emotional baggage that goes along with wanting so damned hard to say that last goodbye that you didn't, to get through the regret of missing that one last opportunity. I get that. I get that as much as anybody else. I'm not going to say more so, because we've all had loss. We've all regretted not making that last goodbye for somebody because you left for camp and you didn't say goodbye. They moved and you missed out. And okay, you didn't keep the lines in touch. You didn't stay pen pals. Kids, you don't know what pen pals is. Ask your grandparents.
Grandparents?
You missed saying goodbye to the dog that you literally grew up with from when you were 9 months old until you were 12, 13 years old. The sister that you never had otherwise. I understand that. That's my thing. I have that even to this day. 40 years later, 35-ish years later. I can still be brought to tears thinking about my first dog. She was my sister in all things except species. And I still regret that I did not get the chance to say goodbye. Her dead body was outside when I had to leave for junior high, and I found out afterwards that my father took her body, according to him, to the town dump. And how emotionally distressing was that? I can cry. 35 years later, I'm a grown man, 44 years of age, and I can be brought to tears thinking about that. And what would happen if somebody were to say, I can channel your dead dog, the sister that you had in all but species, I can have her talk to you. How much would I want that? How much would any of us want to be able to talk to somebody that we never got the chance to say goodbye to? That's the problem. Because that emotional hook completely circumnavigates around all things logic. We know that in other situations we wouldn't be able to do this. Nobody should be able to do this, but we want so hard to believe. And that's the problem. If you really, really want to be a skeptical person about stuff, you have to be able to, for just a moment, divest yourself of the logic, divest yourself of the emotion, divest yourself of critical thinking, of emotional thinking, and sit back and go, what is it that I'm looking at? You have to be able to just open your eyes and think of, what would this be if I didn't think about it the way that I am now. If I wasn't crying my eyes out, would I believe in this otherwise? Sometimes people will say, you want to use your senses, and that's a circular argument, because if you are trusting in your senses, you have to trust in your senses, and that's going back on itself. You don't have a choice. Oh, but wait, you do. You've got other people around you. You've got many other people. You've got friends. You've got associates. You've got us. We will help you. People who don't have a dog in the race, forgive me for using the term, will help you to try to figure out, because we don't have a reason to help you or hurt you. We have only the willingness to say, I see the same thing that you do. Or not, as the case may be. That's what logic is predicated on. How many people honestly see the same things, experience the same things, and can explain the same way the same things? Can we do it all the time? No. But we can do it just one more time than the crap information can. And that's the beginning of critical thinking. Which one stands up on its own? As always, thank you for hanging out with us, and thank you for listening. We hope that you've enjoyed yourselves, and as always, we know that this isn't the sexiest of vlogcasts, but we still think that all of our perspectives have got some merit to them. We hope that you've learned something from them. We've all said our goodnights for you, so you all take good care of yourselves. I will have information next week about a big event that's coming up that's going to take us off the air for a week. Don't worry, it's for a good cause, hopefully, that you'll be able to help out with. But in the meantime, as always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you all well. And of course, as always, for my wife, 10 years on, almost, I'm still in love with you. Matane Fujin, I love you and I miss you. You dream of me. Until the next time we get together, everyone, next week, good night.